Am I concerned when it comes to Casper? The answer is absolutely not, and let me explain why, even though nothing I say is financial advice. I get it, as of right now it's below a cent, but really a bunch of other altcoins are not doing good whatsoever. However, granted, Casper hasn't done too much during the cycle, while we've seen, other projects out there reach a new all-time high despite not having seen, I think, an altcoin season. But again, I haven't seen an altcoin season, so yes, other projects out there may have reached a new all-time high during the cycle, like for instance a BNB, but then at the same time, I haven't seen altcoin season, so I can't really just say that, oh yeah, Casper's kind of done and all this because I don't have that type of mindset. I still think that it is, as a layer one blockchain, pretty compelling to me. I don't think it's going to be the biggest thing out there, but I still like it fundamentally. And if I take a look at the idea 25 cents, at that point, it's around a 31x from here. And considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be around 3.5 billion. Like that market cap right there, it doesn't even seem that ridiculous in the grand scheme of things, at least personally in my perspective, because when I take a look at, for instance, something like BNB, which granted again did very well during the cycle, but even if we take a look at, let's say, back in 2021, the market cap at that point, at one point I should say, was over 100 billion. This is kind of like not really that much in the grand scheme of things, in my perspective, maybe. And also, the way you take a look at it is this. BNB is so massive, is that doing over 10x from where it is as of right now in the next 5 months? I don't know about that. But when I take a look at something like Casper again, just going to 25 cents is already around a 31x from here, just due to its kind of, relatively speaking, pretty low market cap. And also at the same time, the way you take a look at it is that, sure, sometimes you like to say, okay, there's many layer 1 blockchains out there. Why would you care about this? Well, again, I don't think Casper is necessarily reinventing the wheel by any means, but then at the same time, the way I view it is that it's much like in the world of cars. There's many options out there. I don't think there's only just one. So when I take a look at something like this, I don't think it's going to be the biggest, but I don't think it's necessarily just going to be forgotten about because the amount of holders is still looking pretty good. The project seems to be still thriving despite the market conditions. And also, sometimes you like to tell me, okay, if you care about hypothetical upside so much, why don't you believe in this random microcap or something like that? Well, to me, it's not about, going into microcaps, at least personally in my perspective. However, at the same time, I don't necessarily want to look for something that's too massive either in terms of market cap. So I still think something like this is pretty decent because, yeah, sure, with a market cap that is, around that $100 million range, it's not a project that really has that much attention, but it could be different during an altcoin season in my perspective because we've seen time and time again projects that kind of do nothing eventually during an altcoin season, they kind of wake up. I'm not saying it's going to be the case here, but it wouldn't surprise me because, again, just the volume needed to reach 25 cents just wouldn't seem that, I think, kind of outlandish. Even if, let's say, Casper just went to 12.5 cents, so around a 15x from here. Like, even at that point, I don't know if something like Ethereum or Bitcoin could do that in the next 5 months. Like, let's say Bitcoin went to 300 grand. That's less than a 3x from here. And I know a lot of people out there that, have this kind of mindset where if it goes to 300 grand, they're very happy, but that's still less than a 3x from here. If, let's say, Casper just went to the price of 3 cents, that's already over 3x from where it is as of right now. It doesn't even need to reach 10 cents, 5 cents. Again, just 3 cents is already over 3x from here. I'm not saying it will do that, but it wouldn't necessarily surprise me just because the market cap isn't that massive. It doesn't need like such a outlandish amount of volume to really kind of make it move like that. It doesn't mean it will see it. But again, when I take a look at kind of the sort of decent popularity when it comes to Casper, when I take a look at the listings, it just wouldn't surprise me. Now, sometimes people like to tell me, though, okay, when is there going to be an altcoin season? Well, I'm not going to be able to know exactly because personally for me, the way you take a look at it is that whenever that wants to happen, that's beyond my control. Like, I can't just demand it to happen. I don't have a random magic crystal ball to know when this is going to happen or that. I don't have that. The only thing I can do is just stay patient, hold, and I just wait. So if I was a fan of Casper at 2 cents, at 3 cents, especially as of right now, seeing it at below 1 cent, or should I say below a penny, I don't mind just dollar cost averaging and kind of bringing my average cost down. Keep in mind, I've been holding Casper ever since 2021. But also on top of that, I'm not only just holding this, right? I hold other projects too, but then I still just want to keep it nonetheless. This is my point of view. Again, I'm not telling you to do anything, but this is just personally my perspective. I just feel like sometimes, during an altcoin season, even a project that kind of sometimes gets abandoned or sometimes people don't really care about, it just for whatever reason does something. I've seen in a lot of cases. It doesn't mean they become the next big thing, but it kind of showcases how even at times during this space, just even projects that people don't really care about just kind of do something. It might not be a 100x, it may not be like a 50x or something like that, but we've seen some of them make a pretty good move in some cases. And the way I take a look at it is that a project that's still sticking around, that has, I think, a decent following and a good amount of holders, that won't maybe gain attention during an altcoin season. Yeah, I just don't see why not. This is just my perspective. Now, on top of that as well, people like to say, okay, why is the sentiment when it comes to, let's say, Casper not doing the best in the grand scheme of things? Well, not only is it because below the price of 1 cent, but I think it's because of the timeline. Because usually, altcoins, typically as a worst case scenario, they usually peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. But then April of last year was when the last Bitcoin halving event happened. So 18 months from then was actually around October this year. However, when it comes to October, we clearly did not see an altcoin season, right? And again, I think that if anything showcases that kind of the prolonged timeline, I think kind of makes the sentiment not be as good. But then also on top of that, I think that showcases how, even historically speaking, just based off that, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the exact same time this time around. So will we see an altcoin season? It wouldn't surprise me because there is currently over 600 million crypto owners, which is actually allegedly way more than before in the peak of the 2021 bull run where there was around 300 million. So I don't see why it wouldn't happen, but just the timeline of it, it's been kind of long and we haven't seen one. And also on top of that, when will it happen exactly? I will not be able to know that. Even though I pulled up a price chart or I drew a random triangle, I still wouldn't be able to figure that out because the market literally is not going to care what I have to do on a price chart. But again, when I take a look at that prolonged timeline, I get the sentiment is not doing the best, combined with Casper being below 1 cent in price. But if anything, if let's say a month later, 2 months, 3 months, or 4 or 5 months even, right? If things start changing, the sentiment could be different. Only time will tell. I'm not saying it will be different, but it could be. If let's say the altcoin space was doing a lot better and let's say, again, the sentiment becomes better again. However, in the meantime, the only thing I can do is just stay patient, hold, and I just wait. Because if I'm just dollar cost averaging and I'm just holding, if let's say for whatever reason there's that next leg up when it comes to altcoins, and let's say when it comes to Casper for whatever reason has a rally, it's kind of like just going along with the ride. That's the way to take a look at it without having to find the perfect, precise moment and stressing myself out for no reason. I'm just holding the entire time anyway, so let's say the market does wake up, it's kind of like, again, going along with the ride. The way I take a look at it is that, personally for me, what I want to do is just, again, accumulate but never go all in and just treat it like a marathon. It's not a sprint for me, so I'm just holding and just waiting. Literally, that's it. I treat it like a patience game, but I get it. It's been quite a while. Ever since I started holding Casper, it's been years at this point, but I made it too far just to give up like that. That's the way I view it. Now, again, I'm not only just holding this, but this is something that I still want to hold. And I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you all have a nice day. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Willie the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.